He didn't even touch it. The young woman had waited for hours, clutching a rosary she thought was a treasure, a gift for the holy man of Pietrelcina. But as she held it out, Padre Pio's eyes, famous for reading souls, widened, not with gratitude, but with horror. "Take it away," he commanded, his voice trembling with a righteous fury. "Take that thing away from here." The woman was stunned. The friars were confused. What did he see? It wasn't a beautiful instrument of prayer he saw. He saw what was hiding inside it. He saw the demons. Padre Pio was no stranger to spiritual combat. For over 50 years, he bore the wounds of Christ and fought nightly battles against demonic forces that were terrifyingly real. He wasn't just a priest. He was a sentinel, standing on the wall between our world and the next. So when he issued a warning, it wasn't based on superstition. It was based on first-hand battlefield experience. He knew that the Rosary is one of the most powerful spiritual weapons given to mankind. But he also knew that any weapon can be corrupted, counterfeited, or even turned against its user. You might have a rosary on your nightstand right now. You might be wearing one. But are you certain it's a channel for grace, and not an open door for something else? If this is a question that matters to you, make sure you subscribe, because what we're about to uncover could be the most important spiritual checkup you do all year. The first type of rosary Padre Pio would have immediately identified as a spiritual danger is the occult counterfeit. This is perhaps the most insidious threat today because it masquerades as something holy. These are rosaries made with materials or symbols directly tied to paganism, witchcraft, or New Age spirituality. Think of rosaries where the beads are made from specific crystals meant for energy healing or chakra alignment. Or worse, rosaries that incorporate symbols like the all-seeing eye, the pentagram disguised as a flower, or even beads meant to ward off the evil eye. The devil is a master of mimicry. He will take our most sacred traditions and create a cheap, poisoned copy. To the untrained eye, it looks like a rosary. It has the right number of beads, but its very substance is rooted in a power that is not God. It's an invitation. Each bead is a tiny anchor for a demonic claim. One of Padre Pio's spiritual sons, a man who confessed to him for years, told a story of a parishioner who came to the friar for a blessing. The man was devout, but his family had fallen on hard times. A well-meaning but misguided friend had given him a special rosary, one with a small, blue glass bead on it, said to bring good luck and ward off jealousy. The man, in his desperation, began to pray with it. When he presented it to Padre Pio, the saint refused to bless it. He looked the man in the eye and said, "My son, who are you asking for protection? The Mother of God, or the superstitions of the pagans? You cannot serve two masters. This object does not repel evil. It attracts the evil one, for he is the father of all lies and superstitions." He instructed the man on how to properly dispose of the object and gave him a simple, blessed rosary made of wood, telling him, "The power is not in the material, but in the faith and the blessing of the Church." The second type of rosary is far more common, and its danger is more subtle. It is the unblessed rosary. We often forget that a rosary is not automatically a holy object. It is just plastic, or wood, or glass. It becomes a sacramental, an instrument of grace, only when a priest, acting in the person of Christ, blesses it. This blessing sets it apart for a sacred purpose. It imbues the object with the prayers of the Church and makes it a conduit for divine protection. An unblessed rosary is a spiritually empty vessel. Praying with it is like trying to fight a war with an unloaded gun. There is no power behind it. But the danger is worse than just ineffectiveness. Demons are drawn to empty things that are times meant to be filled with God. An unblessed rosary is a vacuum, a mockery of the sacred. It's a house left empty, swept clean, and waiting for a new, malevolent tenant to move in. Padre Pio possessed the spiritual gift of discernment to an astonishing degree. People would bring him baskets of rosaries to bless for their families. Eyewitnesses reported that he would make the sign of the cross over the entire basket, but his blessing would somehow fail to land on any item that was inappropriate or ill-intentioned. On one occasion, a woman brought him a rosary that had belonged to her grandmother, a known spiritualist who dabbled in seances. The woman hoped the saint's blessing would cleanse it. Padre Pio simply pushed it back towards her and said, "Some things are not meant to be cleansed. They are meant to be destroyed. Do not keep this in your home." He could perceive the spiritual history of an object. He knew if it had been used in profane ways, if it had been present during grave sin, or if it had simply never been consecrated to God in the first place. For him, the spiritual world was as clear as the physical one. This leads to a related danger, the desecrated rosary. This is a rosary that times was times, once blessed, but has since been profaned. How does this happen? It could be intentional, used in a satanic ritual or as a prop to mock the faith. More often, it's unintentional. Perhaps it was owned by someone who lived a life of grave, unrepentant sin. The object, present in that environment, becomes spiritually contaminated. Or perhaps it was broken, the crucifix snapped off, and left in a state of disrepair. A broken sacramental is a symbol of a broken covenant. It's a spiritual weakness that evil can exploit. Padre Pio would warn that such objects retain a memory of their desecration. They are no longer pure channels of grace. They are compromised, like a corrupted file on a computer, and can bring that same spiritual corruption into your home and your prayer life. The third rosary is the most dangerous of all, because the corruption isn't in the material, but in the user's soul. This is the rosary of pride. It is the rosary used not as a tool for humble prayer, but as a piece of jewelry, a status symbol, or a way to show off one's supposed piety. Padre Pio had no patience for this. He knew that Satan's original sin was pride. Therefore, any spiritual practice tainted by pride is a prayer directed not to heaven, but to hell. Think of the person who wears a flashy, expensive rosary to be seen, but rarely prays with it. Or the scrupulous person who rattles off decades of Hail Marys, not out of love for Mary, but as a way to score points with God, trusting in their own works rather than in His mercy. This turns the rosary from a chain linking us to heaven into a chain that binds us to our own ego. There's a well-known story of a wealthy countess who traveled to San Giovanni Rotondo to confess to the famous friar. She was known for her lavish donations to the church and her equally lavish displays of piety. In the confessional, she began to list her virtues and good deeds. Padre Pio stopped her. He didn't ask about her sins. Not yet. He asked, "The rosary you carry, is it for the glory of God or for your own?" The woman was taken aback. She described the precious materials it was made from, the master artisan who crafted it. Padre Pio was silent for a long moment, and then he said, "The Blessed Mother is a poor woman. She does not recognize the prayers of pride. Your Hail Marys are empty noise because your heart is full of yourself. Go, sell that bauble, give the money to the poor, and pray with your fingers if you must, but pray with a humble heart." The countess reportedly left the confessional weeping, and later returned as a changed woman, with the simplest of rosaries in her hand. In the end, Padre Pio's warning was not about being afraid of a physical object. It was a call to spiritual vigilance. The battle is for your soul, and the devil will use any tool he can, even twisting the very things we hold sacred. The three dangerous rosaries, the occult counterfeit, the empty, unblessed vessel, and the chain of pride all have one thing in common. They separate us from the true source of power, which is a humble relationship with God, through the intercession of His Mother, and with the blessing of His Church. The rosary in your hand is either a weapon for Christ, or it's nothing. Or worse. Now I want to hear from you. Look at your own rosary. After hearing this, does it pass the test? Let me know in the comments below.